So it is now 3 days after doing all my pours. I did have to wait a little bit longer just because there are like spots within the pours that weren't completely dry, and I wanted to make sure that I gave enough time for it to dry. I have completed all 4 of the canvases. I'm just going to show you to remind you what order I basically did them in. So we've got this one first, which I didn't do the negative space, which I had a bit of a struggle with because of the paint wasn't moving as much. So it does say in the instructions that you need to have a negative space for it to move, which is correct. But however, I wanted to try out to see if you could actually just cover the canvas without covering the canvas, basically. I will be redoing this one, I think, because out of the 3 that I've got here, this one is the least strongest. Plus I'll put some bits of glitter in it as well, because why the hell or not? All 3 have actually turned out, like, not pretty dark, but black does seem to be the underlying theme. I did put black in, but not as much as the rest of the colours, so I may actually remove black from the mixture when it comes to doing the next one, just because I want something a bit more lighter. This one happens to be the lightest of the 3, and it's probably the one that's the most successful, visually, that is, because you can see all the colours and there's not much of the integration of the black. Greeny blue, and then obviously the reaction with the silicone oil has worked tremendously with this one. You can probably actually see where it's still lying flat on the canvas. Just have to wipe that off just to prevent it from smudging anymore. And then we've obviously got the 2 canvases. One is half and half, so one is that half is the mixture of the PVA glue with the ratio, and then I've obviously got my one with my PVA glue but with the same ratio, just so we can compare. This one's a lot more softer and smoother, whereas this one's a lot more jagged and mixed with a bit more texture. This one is my ratio of PVA glue, so I normally do about 70% to 30%, whereas this one was for every 10ml you put in 20ml of PVA glue, so it's about half and half. Well, actually be a bit more than that, but you know. And you can definitely tell visually difference in terms of the quality of PVA glue. For me, I always will stick with my Poundland's PVA glue because it still has the same effect. Yes, it won't be as smooth, but I prefer the textured acrylic pot. It's just not for me. If I want smooth, I can go to and get a proper pouring medium, but I just find it a bit more visually exciting when it's got a bit more texture. It still keeps in with all the colours, but they do muddy it just slightly and sometimes they do dull down a little bit, but that is just something to note that can be fixed with a sealant. You probably want to seal all your acrylic pours anyway, just to prevent fading, and you can use that with either resin or a spray. So overall, I'll go through all the points. The pack that you actually get, I do think it is good value for money for like £10. However, I do think the fact that it basically says you need to buy more PVA glue for it, why not provide that PVA glue? Because it's kind of like a half-assed job. You can get about 2 of the smaller canvases out of that PVA glue use, so the whole point of it is to have enough PVA glue for the whole 4 sets, rather than just the 2 smaller ones or even 1 bigger one. It kind of feels like a half-assed job. That's the nicest way of putting it. It's not like there wasn't room for it either, because as you saw as I was opening it, there was plenty of room, and you just have to reorganise it all. I know from a money perspective, I'd rather have an acrylic pour set slightly more expensive, but to have all the materials for me to be able to produce 4 sets of artworks. The colours and pigmentations actually worked really well. I was quite surprised how strong they were, especially after they dried. The glitter, I think, was a bit too cheesy. It kind of puts on the borderline of professional, but also a bit, I don't want to say crafty, but like a bit childish. I know it is only a little bit of fun, but for me, I think the glitter was just a bit childish, and a kind of like extra, oh, we'll chuck that in there because, you know, it's probably relatively cheap and makes it look like you've got more. I do think the pots are a good size, but I feel like even though you do get 5, they're quite small, and you're meant to use one of these to pour into, so maybe have 5 cuts and then one cup that's a bit bigger just for flipping of the cup, because as you notice you do get 5 colours but you only get 5 cups, so if you're doing this the first time, you're going to need one of the pots already, so that limits you down to 4 cups, so it's not actually the whole experience of doing an acrylic pour. I know it's a very simple little thing, but for me it's the whole point of a kit is that you've got everything. You don't really have to worry about going, oh I need this, oh I need that as well. It's very much you've got everything that you need in the box, and that's pretty much it. Gloves are gloves. They work. I have tried them once. Personally, because of my skin, I don't like to wear gloves. I rather the reaction's worse if I wear gloves, because obviously it's constantly rubbing, compared to not wearing them but using them. If you look at this from my perspective, you won't get the first. It's not like a four only pours. I feel like a couple of them you can get away with re-pouring, because that's the whole point with acrylic pouring. You're not necessarily going to get what you want the first time. It's going to be probably the second or third time. Sometimes you're very lucky with the first pour and you're like, oh that looks amazing, I'll keep that one. But like with the first one, I definitely want to change, just because I know what you can get out of it. Like the difference between the first and second is dramatic. That looks a lot more professional than this one, just a simple case of just putting a negative space on it. The instructions I did find were a bit brief. It would have been nice to be told how much of the pots, like these little pots, you need to fill up for each canvas. So let's say I did 2 pots for this one plus the negative space. I actually found that a bit too much, but I wanted it to have enough to fill the canvas, but not have to worry about not having enough. 1 pot of this does work with the small canvases with negative space. I think that's the perfect amount. If you want to get a negative space, I would put a little bit more in if you want to cover the whole of the canvas without the negative space. There is one other thing at the very top. I don't think I mentioned this. It says, well, literally the first line says, place the canvas on top of 2 household mugs and cups, which are not provided. So, like I said before, because it's not provided, you have to go and get your own bits and pieces. I understand it is recommended, but if you're going to put it in your instructions, then why would you not put it in kit? Even if you got like the little paper cups, because these are, well, just because of the structure of them, they're quite strong. So even if you put 4 more in, but like, I can't imagine paper cups being very expensive. I could be completely wrong. There might be reasons why they've only put a certain amount of items in the box, maybe for financial reasons, but that is just one way I think of it. So overall, I think I'm going to give this box probably an 8 out of 10, mostly because of the amount of materials you get. It's just it bothers me about the PVA bit, that you have to go out and buy more, and obviously it does mention bits in the instructions of household items that you're going to need. You don't necessarily need them, but it's like you need them as part of the pouring process to make it to get the best results. It's just mostly the PVA bit. it just really bugs me, the fact that they're just like, you're gonna need more PVA glue to do all 4 canvases rather than just 2. I hope I've covered all the bases. If you do have any questions about this set that I have missed, please leave them in the comment section below and I will try and get around to them. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching this very long video. I hope you enjoyed this first impressions and I haven't gone too quickly. Please do give it a like and subscribe to my channel to see more videos like this, and like I said, don't forget to leave a comment down below of what you thought of it or any questions that you have about the set, because I would like to do this again. There was loads of sets when I went into the range and the works, but I was just like, oh, maybe next time. I do have one other art set that I want to try out, but it's a bit different from basically everything else I've done on my channel. It's just something new that I could probably do. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I shall see you guys later. Bye!